Another Crossing in the Woods game. This time it's a 1v1 between Oldwolves and Sickpetey, who is hoping to learn something from this. Hopefully improve his austere play, so we'll see if we can give him some good tips. He starts with a second Pioneer squad. That's a little interesting. Not a lot of people do that. Usually they go straight for Grenadiers. But after his Pioneers come in, we'll see what he goes with there. And his Soviet opponent is going with conscripts. As far as the map and bases, I've always thought that Crossing in the Woods somewhat favors the Allies. I could be wrong about that, but when I'm playing Allies, I usually win on this map. I'm not sure exactly what about the map makes it favor the Allies, or if maybe it's just because it's so wide open and easy to set up flanks and easy to get map control. But I do feel like the Axis has a tendency to struggle on this map, so that is one factor to consider for sure. We see Grenadiers coming out, and it looks like Sickpetey is spreading himself a little bit thin at the beginning. My recommendation would usually be to just go for one side and try and hold it, rather than spreading out all over the map, because then you kind of risk losing both fights, because your starting units are not all that powerful compared to the Soviets. And I also would not recommend getting a mortar quite this early. This is definitely very early to be getting a mortar. The mortar team is definitely a great unit, but I would definitely at least get a second Grenadier or third Grenadier as well as an MG first. Especially if you think your opponent is going with conscript spam, which you have learned now at this point in the game. But it looks like you are going to manage to get the left side of the map unopposed, so that's good. That is one advantage of spreading yourself thin, is that if your opponent does go all in on one side, you will manage to take the other side unopposed, even though you're forced back on whatever front he does fight on. Grenadiers hold up behind this truck, conscripts moving up to advance. Oh, surprisingly good mortar there. Second shot misses. Grenadiers are doing pretty good at range, but they're getting flanked. At this point, you should pretty much just retreat. There's absolutely no winning this encounter. And the Grenadiers are pushed away. As the Soviets move up on the right side and in the center. Looks like we saw a pretty quick field infirmary research, and we're now also getting Molotovs, so pretty heavy investment into conscripts. I would not be surprised to see some PPSH commander choice in the very near future. Pioneers pushing towards the center, but they're getting fought off by yet another squad of conscripts. Meanwhile, it looks like Sickpetey has taken most of the left. He could easily take this unopposed, but he's actually got to do some backcapping as he hasn't taken this yet.
Officer is awaiting orders.
I would almost recommend putting up a bunker on this. One squad of Pioneers can actually do a lot to defend an entire side of a map if left alone long enough. Mortar's already got 4 kills from that one lucky mortar right off the start. Might be able to net a few more here. Somewhat inaccurate though. And then we see an artillery field officer. Interesting. So, very interesting build from Sickpetey here. I've definitely not seen anything quite like this in recent memory. Let's see if it works out for him. Flamethrower as well to help battle these conscripts. I think if he doesn't get an MG in the near future, though, he's going to struggle against these massed infantry. Keeping up in cover. These sandbags, by the way, don't provide particularly great cover. And that's not just in this particular spot on the map. Any map that has this particular sandbag formation, they are not all that great. I almost find yellow cover to be more useful than this sandbag formation. I'm not sure what about it makes it not good, but it just doesn't seem that great. Molotov, ooh, does some pretty good damage on that Grenadier squad. Pretty well dodged though.
Officer reporting.
doing a good job of staying in range and just picking conscripts off one by one. Oh, that mortar got attacked by those. Flamethrower squad, forcing that to retreat. He is managing to hold on to his left side of the map though, so that is good. He might want to consider sending just one squad over to the right to harass, since his opponent does not seem to have anything over there defending, and he is focusing more on pushing the center and left now. It looks like he's going to run straight for that fuel to cut it off.
Grenadiers reinforced. Pioneers ready for the enemy is taking.
For example, I don't think you really gain that much by fighting this long-range battle against these conscripts here in the center. It might make more sense to send these units over to the right to take this fuel.
We have been granted access to superior arms and soldiers.
There's a pretty good quote in one of the loading screen tips that says, "Don't bother with a fight if you don't gain anything by winning." Although it looks like now that he's won that, he is going to swing around to the side and take this munitions. Which is good, but taking fuel is slightly higher priority. Especially now that your left fuel point's been cut off by this squad of harassing engineers. Which would not have been able to, wouldn't have been able to take this if there had been a bunker constructed earlier, so something to consider there. Maxim squad moving up. They're getting picked off quite well by this squad of grenadiers. That grenade may have been a little premature. Yeah, he should have waited for it to set up. He probably could have taken out almost the entire squad, but he was not quite successful there. Slightly poorly aimed grenade. Mortar is repositioning, and we see that we're going with some Panzer Grenadiers. He knows that his opponent has a Maxim, so I almost somewhat expected to see a scout car, but Panzer Grenadiers on a flank can be equally effective, if not more so. Looks like good harassment on the right by these two squads. We definitely need to see some sort of effort to retake the left, though. Either that or a concerted effort to take and fully lock down and defend one area of the map.
We have been assigned fresh Panzer Grenadiers.
From Oldwolves, we are seeing he did indeed go with the support weapon Campanaya after upgrading Molotovs and the healing upgrade. He's got 2 engineer squads, 3 conscript squads. And he's got 110 fuel saved up, so I would expect him to go with a Tankovy battalion command to get out some T-34s. But he may opt instead to save for an IS-2 heavy tank. We'll see what he chooses to do. Good use of those Panzer Grenadiers, forcing a conscript squad to retreat. Circling around, probably going to force this one to retreat as well. Yep, well played there.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
But the Soviet still holds the left side fuel. And they did manage to cut off this point, and Sickpetey really needs to retake this. Otherwise his resource income will remain lacking. Shock troops definitely won that engagement. But if he doesn't close the distance, he's going to be forced to retreat. Excellent dodge. I don't think that grenade inflicted any damage whatsoever. But definitely need to see this point recaptured as soon as possible. This squad also needs to keep moving. Opel Blitz truck coming out, so that should help boost CP's resource income somewhat. If we look at the resource incomes right now, we see that the Soviet definitely has a large map advantage. He even has a manpower advantage, so I believe that's largely in part because Sickpetey has been doing a good job of winning engagements. He's actually quite in the lead as far as kills and damage dealt. So he's doing well in combat, but he needs to do a little bit better in map control to sort of comfortably make it into the mid to late game. Medic station going up in the base. And that's really quite common to see. to get his infantry healed up. All those flamethrowers are somewhat poorly positioned. He's gonna have to retreat those. Still spreading rather
Enemy
thin.
forces are securing our territory.
A more unified push for one area of the map, trying to inflict heavy losses on his opponent and trying to secure a fuel point in particular would be good to see. The Soviet is doing a good job of harassing and maintaining map control, usually holding at least one fuel point and often managing to cut off, if not hold, both fuel points for a large majority of the game, giving him a significant fuel advantage. He's now up to 150, 160, which will probably... Oh, and we are seeing that he went with a mechanized armor component, so he did not go straight for IS-2. Instead, he is going to get some sort of Tier 4 vehicle, possibly an SU, possibly an artillery position. Does manage to take out the Opel truck. Looks like he's researched anti-tank grenades. Unfortunately, with no machine gun here to suppress these conscripts, they're sort of free to run amok and take out high-powered targets like that. So that's definitely a heavy blow. Meanwhile, it looks like a pretty well-placed Maxim was able to pin down those Panzer Grenadiers, so they were unable to support during that push. Yet another cutoff from the Soviet, which is not actually even entirely necessary, as it looks like the fuel on the right has been taken. So this has put Sickpetey in quite a precarious position. He really needs to get some fuel back. And finally, these pioneers are moving on the left fuel point. They took this victory point first, but they probably could have just gone straight for the fuel and then worried about victory points later. As we now see that the Soviet has almost 4 times as much fuel coming in as the Axis player.
I await your orders, Commandant.
We did see the artillery field officer come in quite early, but we haven't really seen him use concentrated fire. Haven't seen the smoke barrage. Don't think I've seen the field first aid either, so I'm not sure that this officer is really getting used to his fullest potential. And if you feel that the unit's not that useful to you, you may consider a slightly different purchase. Although he is rather cheap, so he can at the very least give you some capping power. But it would be good to see concentrated fire getting used to take out some of these more high priority infantry targets, in particular these shock troops. But it is a bit of a munitions cost associated with that, so you have to use it when the time is right. Oh, those Panzer Grenadiers are very poorly positioned. They're not going to be able to win this fight. That's a Maxim turning to fight them, as well as 2 full conscript squads. And that bottle grenade fell rather short and only netted him 2 kills. So quite a bit of munitions invested into that. But really, he should have just, as soon as he saw what he was walking into, he should have just backed away and waited for his other forces to catch up. Now that he's retreated that squad, he's going to be struggling against the enemy's push with a less than full force. Looks like concentrated fire did get used here. I'm not sure what it got used on. I missed the... Oh no, and the Molotov burns the field officer to a crisp. He really needed to dodge that Molotov, but it looks like he didn't notice that one going out. Oh, nice merge by Oldwolves there, turning a couple conscripts into shock troops right in the middle of combat and then retreating them on the fly. That was well played. Forcing a full retreat by the Germans.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
He rather desperately needs to get this light machine gun upgrade on his grenadiers. They're highly vetted, so if they got that, they would do some great damage against the Soviet infantry, but until he gets that, he's going to continue to struggle even against flamethrower and conscript squads even. Which at this stage in the game you really need to start fielding some more powerful anti-infantry technology. Does force the flamethrower away, so good move there. I feel that he probably could have gotten a few more kills on that squad if he had chased, but unlikely to kill the whole squad, so maybe he felt that that was a waste of time. Forces a retreat from those shock troops, apparently. He does have enough munitions to get one LMG. I would strongly consider that if I were him. Maxim machine gun, pinning down these grenadiers in the center. Once again, Sickpetey's spreading himself all over the map, kind of playing with an allied mindset when really he should be playing with more of an Axis mindset, just making one focused push for just one half of the map. Just, you only need enough to survive until you can get some really heavy tanks on the field. He does see that his opponent has an Su-85, so that's really going to possibly cause some problems for this Panzer IV that he has coming out. He's going to need to get a good Panzerfaust on that, somehow damage its engine, or possibly even a well-placed Tellermine to be able to flank that and take it out. Otherwise it's going to probably make his Panzer IV struggle to have the impact he really wants to have, if not kill it entirely, so he's going to need to be careful there. And it looks like we also have a field gun, so this combination is going to be very, very dangerous for his Panzer IV to contend with.
We have a new Panzer IV.
Perfectly set up on his opponent's flank. He may want to consider Panzerschrecks to support,
We are down to 300 points.
but of course he is struggling for munitions quite badly, as he has gotten the LMG upgrade, so that's good. I think slight overuse of other abilities may have left him lacking in upgrades. He's only got one flamethrower and one LMG at this stage of the game. Could definitely use more upgrades and slightly less abilities. A little slow to react on those shock troops moving up. If he had managed to position into slightly better cover while they were still in the river, he probably could have won that engagement, especially if this flamethrower had been brought up to support. But instead he was forced to retreat, and now those flamethrowers, it's only a matter of time before these guys are also forced to retreat, causing this sort of endless cycle of retreat and
We are losing
come
the
back.
sector.
Never really having all of his forces in one place at the right time. Panzer IV on the field, not doing anything though. He probably should be moving over towards the right side, as he knows that his opponent has most of his AT focused on the center,
To go with fragmentation bombs.
and somewhat also closer to the left. He could definitely make an impact over on the right side. He completely ignored those flamethrowers and ran straight for the fuel. Interesting. He definitely could afford to move his Panzer IV up to take those out now. His grenadiers are not quite capturing this point. This is yet another of the dangers of fighting on too many fronts. As Axis, not only is your army spread thin, but also your attention is spread thin, and you can't optimally fight on all the fronts that you're trying to manage at the same time. And the Allies, I feel, are slightly more suited to fighting on 2 or even 3 fronts all at the same time, because their units, at least in the early game, are much stronger. The Axis, on the other hand, needs to sort of group up and properly position and defend and take advantage of cover and that sort of thing to make sure that they hold on to the side of the map that they need so that they can get some higher tech units on the field. Getting a little close to that conscript squad, might take an AT grenade. Looks like he reconsiders though, which is surprising given that he's got 350 munitions saved up. Instead, he brings up that Su-85 to start doing some heavy damage, and it looks like the Resist is coming up to protect the flank. Oh, we do see a pack coming out though. Good decision there, but these Katyusha rockets are going to potentially decrew it. Oh, not very well aimed Katyusha though. Lucky for that pack, so that Su is going to be forced to retreat. Good move there, getting that pack to protect your Panzer IV's flank, but it looks like Sickpetey's tank has taken a lot of damage. And he's going to have to get that repaired. And And this is all cut off because he ignored that flamethrower squad with this grenadier squad, which is now sitting idle. He really needs to get that squad capping, get its orders queued up. These flamethrowers are coming back too. He may want to have his tank sit over here while he does repairs, as he does know that his opponent's attention is focused solely on the center with his tank destroyer and field gun. Mortar sets up at a somewhat inopportune time as well. Flamethrowers attacking the grenadiers. They're taking heavy damage. And most of Sickpetey's forces are currently on the retreat and healing up. Oh, it looks like he will catch a conscript squad off guard, though. He needs to pursue. Taking out full squads is very critical at this stage of the game. Well played. Good job there. He needs to get that pack back, though, and healed up. He also might want to get a second or a third squad even of Panzer Grenadiers, as his opponent is quite lacking in anti-infantry capabilities, utilizing nothing but conscripts and engineers with flamethrowers, and one shock troop squad, and focusing the rest of his resources on anti-tank, which is going to make this Panzer IV somewhat irrelevant, at least until he can get those off the field. And he's being very aggressive. He needs to get that Panzer IV out of there. No! This pack is faced at flamethrower engineers instead of protecting Panzer IV, so that was a senseless loss of that tank. It accomplished absolutely nothing in the short time that it was on the field. It was simply hunted down and killed by this tank destroyer, due to poor placement of his pack and absolutely no Panzerschreck upgrades on his Panzer Grenadiers, as he is continually using his expensive grenades and not quite saving up for upgrades, which are what will really end up winning the game for you in the long run. And it looks like the KV-8 heavy flamethrower tank is on the field now, and I am not sure that there is anything that Sickpetey is going to be able to do from here on out, as his only AT is this pack, which, as we all know, a KV-8 can simply churn through without regard. Just charging the enemy base. He has absolutely no fear of any of these units. Oh, and he loses his pack to the Katyusha barrage, which means that his KV-8 really has nothing to threaten it now. Stug on the field. That's good. That should actually be just what Sickpetey needs to chase off this KV-8, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win this game, as the Soviet is currently, oh no, annihilating the enemy infantry with this incendiary strike. Not to mention he has control of the entire map as well as all the victory points. Coming back from this would be a very tall order indeed. Although we can definitely see that the KV-8's fire got nerfed significantly, so that's good to see. At least he still has some infantry. Previously, I think all of this would be dead now. Maybe not all of it, but a significant chunk. Good move disabling his opponent's engine as well, for sure. If he moves that Stug up, it may not be too late to completely annihilate that Su-85. Especially if he manages to defeat these infantry. But he retreats from this shock troop squad, as it has now got triple peg, which makes it an extremely dangerous thing to contend with. He does have 2 squads of Panzer Grenadiers, though, which I definitely think his infantry could beat the enemy's infantry, who actually does not have all that much as far as infantry is concerned. He doesn't have much remaining. He has 1 conscript squad, 1 shock troop squad, and 2 flamethrowers. Beyond that, he has 2 team weapons. Oh, but another incendiary strike forces him back into the base. Ouch. So it looks like the Soviet is going to be able to take out the clock with what few forces he has remaining. Even a mad dash for the victory points at this point would not be able to save Sickpetey. So, in conclusion, that will pretty much wrap up the game. Unfortunate use of his Panzer IV. It really was completely irrelevant this game. It never inflicted any significant damage. He was really never able to make a unified push. He never made a machine gun. An MG42 certainly would have been helpful at some point in the game. He overused his grenades and other abilities and did not purchase enough upgrades. In particular, Panzerschrecks. One squad of Panzerschrecks is absolutely deadly to an enemy SU. It would never be able to sit right outside your base like that. So I think that those factors combined are what really caused Sickpetey to lose this match. As well as certainly not bad play from Oldwolves at all. He did a good job of taking advantage of his opponent's mistakes. He moved his SU up to take out that tank when it was sitting idle, and the pack had its attention diverted. He had excellent map harassment and control. And of course he is very much playing to the Soviet strengths, using the KV-8 heavy flame tank and very well aimed incendiary artillery barrages to decimate the enemy infantry. So, well played by Oldwolves. Few mistakes made by Sickpetey, but certainly not bad play from his side either. And that will conclude the game, and I hope you enjoyed watching.